Hi, I'm Brian,
And I'm Michaela, and this is Drink the Movies.
a podcast where each week we try to recreate a classic movie drink and discuss the movie that inspired it.
Thanks for joining us. Now let's drink the movies.
Well, hello, and welcome to episode 148 of Drink the Movies. I am Brian here, as always, with Michaela. And Michaela, there's two types of romantic comedies in the world. You've got the standard, boy meets girl, boy and girl run away and fall madly in love. And live happily ever after the end. And then there's the kind, like the film we're talking about today, where you need like a roadmap and like a diagram of how all of these relationships work. And that is 2003's Love Actually.
That is right. And what better way to really talk about all the different kinds of love that we're going to see than at Christmas time, where it's a celebration of love and laughter, and it's set in England, which sounds really cozy to us Americans. I mean, let's be clear. This is a film that was totally made for American ladies. I feel like in 2003. Yeah, totally. It's one of those. I feel that became this very hip idea of the intelligent romantic comedy. So it wasn't just boy meets girl. It wasn't just, hey, there's love and tension, and then there's something that they have to overcome, and then everything's all hunky-dory at the end, and they go off riding into the sunset. I feel like this was one of the first in a series of films that were very intelligently done, talking about all the different aspects that go into love in a much more realistic way. So it doesn't always end beautifully. It might end beautifully, but it might not always end happily. Does that make sense?
That's right. Yeah, it's going to explore kind of all the different kind of aspects and facets of love here as we go through these tales of love and relationships in the story. But, before we do that, there's about 1,000 characters we're going to need to keep straight. And to do that, we're going to have to stay hydrated, Michaela.
Yes.
So it's important that right now we take a quick break, and we'll be right back to whip up this week's cocktail. Be right back.
Level up your listening with Bose Quiet Comfort Ultra earbuds and headphones with immersive sound and world-class noise cancellation for a not-so-silent night. Visit Bose.com/Spotify to shop sound that's more than a present.
So, Brian, we got to talk a little bit about two of these characters that are in this film. And their names.
1,000 characters.
Two of the 1,000, yeah. And it's Colin and his friend, whose name I can't remember. But they're sitting in a place. They're sitting in a bar, and Colin is like, "I've got it." And he's English. This all takes place in London, and he's like, "I am going to go to America. The problem is English girls are all stuck up and snobby, but American chicks are all hot and cute, and they're going to love me. I look like a dork here, but there I will be this sex god," is what he's thinking. And so he goes to a place called Milwaukee. And he thinks it's like, he's so excited about it. He's going for Christmas. He's like, it's going to be amazing. And that is what inspired you to go find this drink.
That's right. That seems very very stereotypical. That's okay. It is Colin and Tony is the other name there for sure. And yeah, Colin does find his way to America. He lands in beautiful Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we were thinking, what are we going to do for Love Actually? There actually is a cocktail called Love Actually, which is like a champagne thing. It has some I don't know, a bunch of other like fruit juice and stuff like that. And I was like, that sounds pretty good. But let's take it down a notch. Let's do what Colin would do, and that is go to the first like dive bar you can find in Wisconsin. And in fact, I think he lands in Wisconsin, gets in the taxi, and he says, "Take me to a bar. I don't care what bar, just take me to a bar." And that's what we're doing. And we are going to the famous Cleo's Cocktail Lounge in Wisconsin. And the reason I picked this, and the reason I picked kind of the cocktail that they have here, is Leo's Cocktail Lounge has been decorated for Christmas 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year since 1970, which sounds awesome. So I guess we have to go to Wisconsin and go to Cleo's Cocktail Lounge. And while we're there, we can have their famous Dirty Snowball.
That's right. That sounds amazing. I keep saying this, Brian. We're gonna do a drink the travel show, and we're gonna go to these places and we're gonna drink the drinks.
No offense to our Wisconsin listeners, but I think maybe we should find different destinations, maybe especially this time of year.
Don't be a naysayer. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're gonna go in the middle of Christmas in July because it'll still be decorated for Christmas and it will not be 40 below. That is definitely what's gonna happen. But the Dirty Snowball is this very famous drink. It is delicious, I will say. If you like cream creamy alcoholic beverages.
If you have taste buds, it's delicious.
Yeah, if you like ice cream, if you like vodka, you like cream. If you're just a human, you should like this. And but you can find this on keeprecipes.com because that's where Brian found it. And it's really easy to make. It's gonna take 1 shot of vodka. Any vodka will do. A shot of creme de cacao. If you make your own, that is awesome, but you don't have to. You can find it at the store. This is a blended drink, so I don't know how I don't know how important it is for you to have like real nice creme de cacao. I wouldn't worry about it. Just get some. A shot of some coffee liqueur, so you can do Kahlua, Tia Maria. There's a bunch of local. Wherever you are, there's a local coffee liqueur that's probably amazing. And then a shot of cream. And then you're going to put this in a blender. You're just going to add some ice to it, depending on how icy you want it. And you're going to blend it. Now, if you want it kind of crushed icy, you're just going to blend it a little bit. If you want it to be like a smoothie, you're going to blend it a lot. It's really that simple. And you're going to put this in a glass and drink it.
You're going to put it in a glass and drink it? Absolutely you are. As in terms of your ingredients here, you're making a drink called the Dirty Snowball, so don't feel obligated to use your highest top shelf vodkas and things like that's in here. So go ahead and mix that up. Do with ice, like Michaela said. I did mine in a NutriBullet, and that seemed to be perfect. You could also do, if you don't happen to have cream or want something a little bit richer and smoother, you could also do like a scoop of vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream, kind of whatever you wanted to do there to mix this up. Or you could probably even use if you wanted to completely change things up, you could use like mint chocolate chip ice cream in here.
What I did
to do this? I do not know what you did because we were not together.
We were not together when we made this. I did the first one as directed, and then I added a scoop of cookies and cream because I thought it would definitely look dirty, like dirty snow because of the little granules. And that was incredible. I so recommend it. It was real good.
All right. So we're going to be just doing variations of the Dirty Snowball basically through the rest of winter is my understanding here. But yeah, this was really good. And if you have ever been to Cleo's Cocktail Lounge, please tell us about it because it sounds awesome. It looks really cool, the pictures of it online and stuff like that. So pretty excited about this cocktail, and it's a good one. So make sure you check it out and send us pictures, all that good stuff. But for now, Michaela, we're going to need the energy that a Dirty Snowball might give you in order to make our way through this story and make heads or tails of it. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back to chat about the many branching paths of Love Actually.
This episode is brought to you by Undeniably Dairy. Dairy farmers are more than farmers. They're climate caretakers. They see water as a precious resource. Most farmers recycle water up to 4 times, from chilling the milk to irrigating their crops. And some even use technology to turn manure into renewable energy. To learn more about what dairy farmers are doing to make their farms more sustainable, visit usdairy.com.
Spoiler warning for Love Actually. If you've not seen the 2003 Christmas romantic comedy film that was written and directed by Richard Curtis, we're going to talk about all the things. And there's like 87 couples, and we're going to talk about all the endings. So if you don't want to hear any of those, you need to press pause. You need to go make yourself a Dirty Snowball or like 6 of them because they're amazing. And then you need to go watch the film. It's about 2 hours and 15 minutes long. It's worth your time. Come back. We could chat all about it.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sure that there's some sort of like drinking game that could be incorporated into Love Actually. I did not take the time to look at that, but I'm sure that that exists and could be fun as you go through these 1,000 relationships, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the in between. This movie came out in 2003, as you mentioned, Michaela, and it stars basically everyone on the planet. Every English actor that was available in 2003 is in the film. I'm going to rattle off a couple of these here because they are the ones that are on the poster, but there's a lot more. So Hugh Grant, Liam Neeson, Colin Firth, Laura Linney, Emma Thompson, Alan Rickman, Keira Knightley, Marty McCutcheon, Bill Nighy, Rowan Atkinson. So those all get credit on the poster. And like I said, there's a bunch more that we're going to talk about kind of as we go through this, Michaela. So the film opens awesome. The film closes awesome because it's just like a montage of people reuniting at the airport. We're watching this last night. My wife said that the opening montage is the best part of the movie, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. So good call. That's very nice. And it comes up then with a little kind of voiceover. It's Hugh Grant, I think, is doing the voiceover. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So, and basically it ends with him saying that love actually is all around. And then we find out that it is 5 weeks until Christmas, and we are about to get a new slammin' Christmas tune from Billy Mack.
From Billy Mack, which is amazing because he's like, this is horrible. It's basically the song Love is All Around. And we should know who actually wrote Love is All Around because we are also Drink the Movies. So hold on. Who did that? Love is All Around. It was a song by the English rock band called The Trogs, and it was released in 1967. It was a top 10 hit in both the UK and US. But they wanted to capitalize on that, and they did Christmas is All Around. And so they tried. Billy Mack, played by the amazing Bill Nighy, is sitting incredibly wide-legged on this stool, like dancing around, and he can't get the lyrics right, and he keeps singing Love is All Around instead of Christmas is All Around. And it's really comedic gold. And his manager, Joe, is like, dude, this is awful. He's like, I know this is awful, but we're going to make a lot of money. It's going to be fine. Just go with it, right. Billy Mack.
I love I love he finally gets the lyrics right, and he's like this is it's real terrible. Uses some adult language there, and his manager's like, yeah, but it's solid gold terrible. And that's exactly what it's going to be. And then there's a bunch of storylines here, and in order to keep these straight-ish, what we thought we would do is we'd kind of break these kind of relationships down a little bit into who they are, and then talk about kind of who they are to each other, and kind of their relationship and how it works through the movie. And I think kind of the next couple that we get introduced to, which is kind of interesting because they're like the least impactful, and I guess like the whole like entire narrative of the story. I think that they're just kind of friends with one of the production assistants here, but that is John and Judy, and they are played by Martin Freeman and Joanna Page. Joanna Page playing just Judy there. These two are an interesting characters as some body doubles, and I don't know, some sort of film that you might not be allowed to watch unless you're of legal age.
That's right. I think they are professional stand-ins for, so they're not stand-ins for an adult film. I think they are stand-ins for adult portions of a normal film, is what I'm going to believe, just given all the people that they have on the set.
They're stand-ins for adult portions of this film.
Correct. And it's so interesting because they look like normal human beings, and they're like in this very strange position, kind of meeting each other for the first time, and they're very professional. I love John because there's moments where he has to put his hands on her, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to do this now. Are you okay with it?" And he gets consent, like a person should. It's really great. But it's very funny because they're talking about like the weather and the traffic, and like his hand is all over her body, and it's just really hilarious in an adult way. So know this going in. When you watch this film, this part's not for kids. So maybe think twice before you show it to a child, specifically for this couple alone, because everything else is kind of adult, but this is very adult.
That's right. Yeah, there's some language throughout, but yeah, obviously this part's, and it's playing on like that comedic element, right? That John and Judy here are these stand-ins, and they're naked performing kind of these love scenes here in this movie as these body doubles, and they're just having completely normal conversations, which is actually very incredible. Martin Freeman, at this time wasn't kind of the Martin Freeman that we know now, from the Hobbit and the MCU and stuff like that. And Joanna Page, I'm not super familiar with, who is playing our Just Judy character here, but I think that they're really excellent, and it kind of blows my mind that you would be able to have this conversation under these circumstances without acknowledging that you're doing it. I don't know, really, really good, and this is one of my favorite relationships in the movie, Michaela.
Yeah, no, totally. Because even though they do things that look really scandalous and very adult, they seem to be the most innocent and like exploratory in their love for each other, or their like for each other at first. Because when they're offset and they're being normal and they're not naked in these weird compromising positions, they're actually quite shy. And even and Joanna Page is amazing. She was in Gavin and Stacey, which was an English show for years, and really wonderful. They're very just understated and subdued in their like for each other. And so I love when Martin Freeman's character Jack kind of asks her out, and again he's like wrapped around her leg or something, and he's like, hey, I was just thinking maybe we could go out. And he's like seeing her naked. Like, it's so weird, and it's so not off-putting, but it's so contradictory to what we think of when we start dating someone or when we decide we're going to like somebody, because that is not the business most people are in. And so he's seen all these things, and he's still like really shyly asking her, like, do you want to go for a cup of coffee? And you don't have to, like, he's very sure that he like wants to get like enthusiastic consent to get a cup of coffee when he has literally seen the inside of her body. I mean, it's really crazy to me, and it's so funny.
Yeah, it's really great. They do finally go out on their dates, and like how awkward John is to like lean in and give her a kiss, and then she finally kisses him, and says that they can go out, and he does like this like cheer and jumps down from the steps. So that one's pretty good. Like I said, that one's maybe my favorite of the actual like relationships here in the film. And let's go ahead and get into the probably the most controversial of the relationships here in the film. That is the one between Juliet and Peter and Mark. Now Juliet and Peter are starting the movie off. They are about to get married, and Mark is there to be the creepiest dude, the creepiest. I don't know, he's not even like a groomsman, he's just sitting there being super creepy all the time. What do we think here, Michaela? Juliet, Peter, and Mark. We've got Juliet played by Keira Knightley, we've got Peter, who's played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Mark, who is played by none other than The Walking Dead's what's his name, Andrew Lincoln.
Andrew Lincoln. By the way, Andrew Lincoln, Mark was the best man. He literally was standing next to the groom videotaping. So he wasn't just creepy. So Brian and I have a differing opinion on this whole scenario, because I agree with some points that Brian has made, and we're going to talk about it. But so Juliet and Peter, they are in love, and they are getting married, and it's a beautiful wedding, and Mark is the best man, and he like is videotaping this whole time, and we're led to believe at the beginning that he's videotaping Mark because he kind of looks sad and happy at the same time, but he creates some of these really beautiful moments during the wedding. So he has All You Need Is Love kind of serenaded in this surprise kind of big band, I don't know,
yeah, no one notices the four guys with trombones sitting next to them.
They don't, though. They don't, and it's so funny. No, the people in the audience probably knew what was going on, but certainly the bride and the groom didn't. So at the end, after they say their vows and they're trying to walk out, the flutists come up and the trombones come up, and then this guy who looks amazing, he looks like Taye Diggs, but it's not Taye Diggs. It's a really amazing singer, sings this like kind of bluesy version of All You Need Is Love from the Beatles, and it's really beautiful. And Mark is like, hey, I had nothing to do with it, but he totally did. And so they're at the reception, and we see Laura Linney's character kind of steps up to him and says, hey, are you in love with him? Because, you've been staring at them the whole time. And he's like, absolutely not. And so you think that maybe Mark has had this unrequited love for his best friend, Peter, the whole time, or at least that's what I thought. He doesn't seem to really like Juliet at all. Like, she has a problem with her videographer, and she calls him. And even Peter is like, hey, be nice to my wife. And Mark's like, I'm nice. What are you talking about? But as soon as she tries to ask him, hey, I know you took some video of the day. Do you think you can let me look at it? Because my videography is awful, and I just would like one picture of me in a wedding dress. And he's like, yeah, I probably don't have any of it. I don't want to talk to you. Goodbye. And it's really strange until she shows up at his house and offers him a banoffee pie, which is like a hot lava pie filled with hot banana. It's kind of gross, but if you like banana, it's great. And she's like, hey,
sounds good.
Why don't you like me? I don't understand. Like, we should be friends. I'm really nice, and we both really like Peter. And he's like, yeah, okay, but we still can't find the video. Turns out the video is like right on the shelf. She pops it into the videotape, and she sees that it's not Mark or not Peter that he was videotaping. It was her the whole time. And she has this beautiful like realization that comes across her face. And she's like, I'm so confused. You don't even like me. You don't talk to me. Why is it me? And he's like, yeah, I can't talk to you. I just can't. And so he leaves his own apartment because he can't talk to her about the fact that he's in love with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he is in love with her, and he takes a super creepy video of her, which he labels and just leaves out on his shelf there. What are you doing, guy? Yeah, so she turns up. She's trying to amend some bridges, right? She knows that her new husband and this guy are best friends, and she doesn't want to, get in the way of that. She wants to see, if they can be friendly and amicable. She brings him a pie. That seems good. To have Keira Knightley bring you some sort of banana flavored pie. That sounds good. And yeah, I mean, she finds the video. Of course she does, because it's just sitting right there. Because he's probably watching it like 100 times, like a weirdo. Andrew Lincoln. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? You're at a wedding. Don't do that. That's a little stalkerish, I think, to just take a video of someone. That's super weird. And then their relationship is going to carry on then when he decides to insert himself later on in the film by going and pretending to be some carolers, so he can give her this message that for some reason he feels he needs to get off of his chest. And I don't like that, Michaela. I think should have just left one enough alone. When you left, you kind of said your goodbye. You said what you needed to say. Now she knows that you're kind of odd and creepy a little bit, and that maybe you're in love with her, and that's fine. That's fine. Leave it there. That's all you need to do. Don't go to the house. Don't do it. Come on,
right?
Come on, Andrew Lincoln. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, so it's funny because that moment of him showing up with these cards, these cue cards that he like shows one at a time, right? And it's like, to me, you are perfect, and it's Christmas, so I have to tell you the truth, and I'm and I'm gonna be in love with you. And but he's like, I don't have any hope or agenda. I agree with you, Brian. I think when you're young and how old was I? I was 22. I think when I saw this film, I was like, that's so romantic. No, that part's not romantic. That part's a little weird because now, Juliet has to do something with that. What is she going to do with that? I don't know. Yep. I mean, to be fair, I think Mark did the right thing. He never told her. He never let on that he wanted video of her, which is a little creepy, I suppose. But it wasn't. I don't know. It was in a public place where she was getting videographed anyway. If it had been like him like sneaking around videotaping her, that would bother me.
It was like 10-minute video of just her face. It was so weird. It's so weird.
It is, but somebody wants to be loved that much, I'm sure. Anyway,
maybe her husband was the one loving her. But
yeah. Maybe Peter was.
What is she supposed to do with that? Is she supposed to go upstairs and tell Peter, be like, hey, Mark just told me that he loved me forever, or is she just supposed to keep that inside of her for the rest of her life? What's the deal, Mark?
Yeah,
I don't like this. I don't like this one at all. I didn't like it in 22. I knew that you shouldn't be a creepy stalker back then, Michaela. I guess you didn't know, but I knew. So.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about why men and women felt very differently about this film at this particular juncture, but all's well that ends well with this one, because Mark and Peter and Juliet managed to stay friends. Juliet gives Mark a kiss at the end. She kind of like she grabs him and she's like, yep, thanks for telling me. I really appreciate it. And then she goes back to be with her husband, Peter. And Mark shows up at the end of the movie because they're picking up, I don't know who are they picking up? They're picking up somebody.
They're just back they're back from their honeymoon, I think. I don't know. Everyone knows. It doesn't matter. Everyone knows everyone. It doesn't matter. They're at the airport and they're all three are together, which is also kind of weird. On a side note, I don't know if Peter knew about this, if this love affair gone amok or not. But yeah, that one's the most complicated one, I think. So let us know at home what your thoughts are on the Juliet, Peter, and Mark dynamic here. Let's get into one that's a little bit more kind of straightforward, I suppose. And that is Sarah and Carl. So we have Sarah, who is played by Laura Linney, and Carl, who is played by
Carl. He's so beautiful. He was in gosh, he was in the 300. He was the crazy Persian king in 300.
He was in Lost as well. He's been in
Rodrigo
a couple of things.
Santoro.
I was trying to think his name. Rodrigo Santoro. Yeah, are playing these two, and
beautiful.
These two are colleagues, right? So now they're colleagues at Alan Rickman's character's firm, and that's how they know each other. I really like they get introduced to each other. Alan Rickman's character is like, when are you going to tell this dude, or how long have you worked for me, and how long have you been in love with Carl? And that's been like the same amount of time, but they eventually kind of hit it off at this holiday party and end up going home together. But all things are not going so great for poor Sarah here in this instance.
Yeah. Oh, this is tough because Sarah's played by Laura Linney, and it's Sarah that actually picks up on what's going on between that something's amiss at Daniel or at Mark and Peter and Juliet's wedding, right? So she's the one who asks Mark, "Hey, what's going on?" She has been in love with this guy forever. He finally sees her. They are dancing. He takes her home, and then he's like, I could come upstairs. And the soundtrack to this film is amazing. There are so many great songs, and they put on Eva Cassidy's version of Songbird. It's gorgeous and it's heartbreaking. And they start to kind of make out on the bed, and he's like really into her. He's like, "You're so beautiful." But then her brother calls, and her brother has a tendency to call her a lot, and we don't really know why. We don't know the full story until about this moment where she answers the phone, and then she explains after she hangs up. She explains to Carl that Michael is her brother. He suffers from mental illness. He's in a psychiatric hospital, and he doesn't have anybody. Both of her parents have passed, and so she is his only family, and she can't let go. She will always answer the phone. And so he's having a really tough time. He is talking about the Pope needing an exorcist or something. And it's kind of funny, but it's also really heartbreaking. And so she offers to go visit and drop everything that she's doing with Carl and go be there. And Carl does not take that very well. He's not a jerk about it, but he's also like, okay, well, I guess this isn't going to happen then. And to me, this one is one of the most heartbreaking scenarios that we see, because Sarah and Carl don't end up getting together because Carl kind of lets her go, and she lets him let her go because he doesn't understand how important Michael is to her. And It's really sad.
Yeah, it's this one here is more of an example, I guess, of like family love, right? Putting kind of the needs of her brother there above, I guess, her own needs, which is very sad. And yeah, she's not able to capitalize on this tryst. I really like kind of when they get back to her little apartment kind of thing, and they're standing there. I think they kiss, and then she's like, "All right, I just need a minute," and she like goes around the corner and she does like this little like silent like scream and like throwing her hands up in the air and stuff. She's so excited. She's apparently, we've learned kind of from the introductions of the characters here that she's been in love with this guy basically since the minute she laid eyes on him, I guess. And it's finally coming to fruition, but yeah, has to put her brother's needs above her own. And yeah, this one is definitely bittersweet, because on one hand, yeah, you want to be there for your family, but then on the other hand, you need to make sure you're taking time for yourself there. And unfortunately, Sarah's not able to do that. So Sarah and Carl check. And here is another one here that's not going to go very well. I don't think it's going to go very well in the long run for anyone here, but that is Harry and Karen and Mia. So we have Harry played by the amazing Alan Rickman. We've got Karen, who is played by Emma Thompson, his wife, and then Mia, his, I guess, sort of like receptionist or
admin,
personal assistant, admin, something like that, played by Heike McCotch. And as it turns out, Harry is going to be a little tempted by this temptress named Mia, who is basically offering him up the world on a silver platter. And is he going to take the bait? Yes, he is.
Yeah. If you mean the world, you mean her like in a red bikini thing that she makes sure that everybody sees at the Christmas party, which I think is interesting.
With devil horns on.
Yeah, with devil horns on. Yeah.
Not even trying to hide it.
Not even trying to hide it. And here's the thing. Harry and Karen isn't stupid. What I love, one of my favorite scenes, they're getting ready for bed at the end of that night. And Karen is like taking off her clothes. This is Emma Thompson. By the way, she's beautiful. We're not body shaming here, right? She's gorgeous. She's taking off her clothes and she's making a joke, self-deprecating.
Not body shaming like the rest of the movie does.
That's right. Sure. That's right. That's for sure. She's taking off her clothes and she's saying how she's joking, self-deprecating joke about how everything she wears is now once owned by Pavarotti. And Harry is like this good-natured guy. He's like, well, Pavarotti's an amazing dresser. And just like really sweet to her, right? But she looks at him and she says, oh, Mia's very pretty. And he's like, oh. And she says, oh, she is. Be careful. And I love that, because this marriage apparently was 13 years long. And she knows her husband. She knows that he's attracted to her. And she's not even mad at it. She's just like, hey, don't mess this up, dude, because I'm not stupid. And I think that it's weird, because in marriages, it's not that you're tempted, it's that you're tempted and give in. I think that's the problem, right? I think being tempted is a pretty human thing, and she's not mad at that, because she's not stupid and she's a pragmatist. But this whole thing kind of comes to a head when Harry decides, or is asked by Mia, he's going out Christmas shopping. And of course, she's like, hey, I want a gift. Give me something. And he's like, oh, okay. So he does something in his life that he's never done. And he goes to a jewelry counter, and Rowan Atkinson plays this amazing store clerk that like flourishes this necklace and puts like freaking flower petals and like gold ganache and a Christmas box in it. It's pretty amazing.
What is that? It's a cinnamon stick, sir.
It's a cinnamon stick, sir. And he's like, oh my God, what are you gonna do? Cover it in yogurt, cover it in chocolate buttons. What next? He's like, oh, this is so much more than a box. Anyway, Harry gives this necklace, and it's something like 270 pounds. I don't know. That's a lot of money. That's like $700 today. That's a lot of money. Okay. And, but Harry buys it, and Karen kind of gets tipped off that he buys it, and she sees this necklace in his dresser, thinking that it's going to be in his, thinking that it's going to be for her. And Karen does get a very nice gift. It's Christmas Eve, so they're allowed to have one gift before Christmas morning. That's what they do in their family. And so she finds this box that looks exactly like the right shape to be this necklace. Karen opens it up, and it is not that. It is Joni Mitchell's Both Sides Now. And it's kind of this really beautiful album, by the way. And Harry thinks that he is like God's gift to the world, because he's like, hey, you once said you liked Joni Mitchell and that you were in love with her. And, isn't this nice of me? Aren't I thoughtful? Aren't I wonderful? But you're not getting a necklace because I'm giving it to Mia, who's like super hot. But
and now you have to go cry before our kids go to their talent show thing where they're playing a lobster that you just spent the whole movie making a lobster costume for. Yeah, this one's pretty bad, Harry. What are you even doing? Mia totally has got him, like hook, line, and sinker. She's just dropping all these little not so subtle hints at Harry, and he's definitely going to take the bait and buys her that gift. Yeah, this one's pretty not good. Michaela, on a couple of levels, because Karen sees him, at the jewelry counter, getting the necklace, right? I don't think he gets it kind of there at that point, but she knows that he's looking at that, and then obviously she sees the box in his jacket later, so that's bad. And then the timing is real bad. Not that the timing is ever going to be great for that. So that's bad to be buying gifts for your admin at work. On the other hand, also bad to be trying to hook up with your admin at work. That's like an HR issue, Harry. That's like a double strike. And Mia does not strike me as the kind of person that you want to sort of finagle a relationship with that way. I don't think that's ever going to go very well for you there, Harry. But yeah, I mean, it gets you the great scene. The Rowan Atkinson scene is amazing there, as he's kind of wrapping up this thing, and then he pulls out like this giant box to put it in. He's like, what is this? It's not great. But Alan Rickman is so amazing kind of in this role, and their little his kind of interactions with his wife Karen Emma Thompson there are really good, and they're such good actors, and the way they have kind of this little like banter, and then you get the absolutely like incredible and very crushing scene where Karen goes in to the room and Joni Mitchell is playing, and she just allows herself to have like a 30-second little breakdown there before going on and putting on her happy wife and mother face to take the kids to the show, because the kids don't have anything to do with Harry's bad decisions. So bad news, Harry, Karen, and Mia. Let's get on to another one here that's also potentially bad news. Michaela, a lot of bad news here on this one. We're gonna have to come to terms here on this one. David and Natalie, our newest prime minister and his former employee.
Yeah. So David's brand new. He was just like, I don't know when this happens in England because I'm not English, but apparently this happens right before Christmas when they have their change of ownership or leadership. And so he goes into 10 Downing Street, and he's starting to meet his staff, and he meets Natalie. Natalie is a new junior member of the household. She's in charge of giving David biscuits and coffee and tea and things like that. And he immediately finds himself attracted to her. She's got a bit of a potty mouth. She's real pretty. Although she was with a guy who everybody thinks she's chubby. And that is a bunch of BS. She's gorgeous, by the way. She's not chubby. And one thing I love is that David doesn't fall for that. When somebody else is shaming her, he's like, would we call her chubby? Would we say that about
he doesn't say he doesn't say we shouldn't call her that, or don't call people that, or it's rude to call someone that. He just says, is that what we call her?
It's very English kind of
He doesn't stand up for her. Doesn't stand up for her there. Doesn't stand up for when President Billy Bob Thornton comes and is hitting on her. Doesn't say a word to him. He uses it to empower himself to give a passionate speech, but he doesn't stand up for her in that moment. That's another strike there. And he doesn't stand up to her in front of her family when her family calls her chubby later. This movie is full of terrible body shaming. I don't like it. Go on.
You're right. You're right, Brian. So David's kind of this interesting character because you're rooting for him, but he apparently is also a really not amazing brother or present uncle, because David is actually brothers with Karen. And so in this night where Karen has just found out that her husband is probably having an affair, and she has been living this basically life of lie, David ends up showing up at the kids' school to kind of hang out with Natalie a little bit and get to know her a little bit more. And he's not there for the kids at all. Of course, he doesn't say that. He's just like, oh yeah, happy to see you. And so it's a very strange kind of scenario with David and Natalie. Natalie does nothing wrong. She's never done anything wrong. She didn't do anything to deserve necessarily being moved. But if David wanted to pursue a relationship with her, she would have had to move, or he would have had to step down as being prime minister. That probably wasn't going to happen because the patriarchy. So when I thought that he redistributed her duties to somebody else, that he did that because he was trying to save her in that way and get her and not have her be in trouble when he decided he wanted to date her, which was inevitably going to happen. Of course, Natalie doesn't see it that way. She sees that he's redistributed her because he's mad that, she stood there while Billy Bob Thornton was like trying to touch her neck or whatever that was.
Yeah, of course she thinks it's she's getting reassigned because of that. But no, I think and my watching it, the way I take it is just that David can't handle his feelings about Natalie, so he just has her reassigned off of his staff, which is a bad move because he doesn't even think about her, or doesn't even decide to like go out after her until he receives that Christmas card from her in a few weeks' time, right? So it's not like he had her reassigned and then went on to pursue her. He got that and is like, oh yeah, that was that attractive girl that I fired. I should probably go check on that because I'm the prime minister. David and Natalie, there's a 16-year age gap there, which is okay, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know. This one's all right with me. And then eventually, gets kind of shown to the light, right? They go here, kind of the penultimates here of the story is all these people end up at this kids kind of talent show, Christmas show sort of thing that they get to, and they're backstage, David and Natalie kissing, and then the curtains open up, and then all of England then is privy to this new budding romance. But there's some really good stuff here. David's character is pretty fun. I like the scene where he's like dancing around like his like apartment, like house sort of thing that he gets to live in. That part's pretty good. And of course, Hugh Grant playing David is very charismatic and Hugh Grant like, I guess, throughout the film, so that's pretty fun. But the absolute best part, and maybe my favorite part of the whole movie, is when he's going door to door to look for Natalie, and they get there and they open the door and it's like these three little girls and they're like, are you carolers? And he's like, nope. And they're like, sing us a song anyway, and they just start like yelling at him, so they start to sing Good King Wenceslas, and then like his like bodyguard driver police escort starts to sing, and he has like this amazing like operatic voice. That part is hilarious and amazing, and one of my favorites.
Yeah, I feel like that might have been something that they didn't tell Hugh Grant about, because if they did, his shock at hearing this baritone voice from the back that's like "Good King Winslow," and he's like, "Oh my God!" His face is comedic gold. It's so good. I cry, laugh every time I see it. And of course, the kids are just like dancing around. It's so funny. But he goes door to door. And of course, as soon as he sees Natalie's family, she like lets out a bunch of curses looking for her coat. And he's like, that's my girl. And I do like that she's very much, she's totally infatuated with him. And so at the end, when they're at the airport, she like does this running jump and he grabs her and it's like, in your face, body shamers. I love it so much. She's in this beautiful red coat and he just seems really into her.
Oh
and
yeah, she has prime minister bucks at the end of it. She's wearing a very posh coat, looking pretty good, my other favorite part, and it all has to do with them going kind of door to door and then getting to this kids thing, is because he ends up going with Natalie like in the car, like she rides with him, but then like her little brother or something is in there and he's in like a dinosaur costume. I wish they would have shown us a little bit of this.
It was an octopus costume.
Oh, it was
eight legs. She was like, eight legs, there's a lot of paper mache, David.
Yeah. So and the kid's like sitting in between them, and then he like crawls over the lap of David when they get there. Yeah, I wish they would have shown like a little bit of this kid's performance with the lobster and the octopus. That would have been really good. So that is our prime minister and Natalie there. I don't know. We can come back to that one. Let's see. Up next, we've got Jamie and Aurelia. So Jamie is played by Colin Firth, and Aurelia is played by Lucia Moniz. Now, David starts off the story here with some pretty bad luck, right? He's there with his girlfriend. I think she's kind of in bed, feeling a little under the weather, and he has to go in, I think, to like work for the day or something like that. And so she's like, I'm just going to stay here. You go. And it seems like they're a very happy couple, right? They're saying that they love each other, giving each other some kisses. But when David returns home a little bit early, he finds like one of his friends or his neighbors there in the house. And it turns
out it's his brother.
Oh, it's his brother. Oh,
that's even worse. So, and it's
worse.
Jamie.
People in these are the worst. They're the worst. And yeah, so that's bad. Your girlfriend's cheating with your brother. So what are you going to do except for go to France and work on your book?
Yeah, you're gonna go to France, but you're not gonna meet a French girl. You're gonna meet the beautiful Portuguese housekeeper Aurelia, which is a lovely name, by the way. Good name.
True.
And Aurelia doesn't speak English. Jamie doesn't speak Portuguese. He barely speaks any French. There's this whole big thing where he's meeting the housekeeper lady who lets him into the French cottage, and she says, "Oh, you look happy. You look sad. You didn't bring the girl with you." And he's like, "Well, you look like you're not very surprised." And there's this great thing where he's trying to talk to Aurelia, but he has no idea how to speak Portuguese, and she's kind of embarrassed. But they have this really beautiful chemistry, and they're both mutually attracted to each other for sure. I love this storyline because Jamie's played by Colin Firth. He's amazing. Everybody roots for Colin Firth's characters, right? I think this was right before or right after Bridget Jones's Diary, and so you want him to find love. You think that he's a nice guy. He deserves it. Aurelia's got this beautiful like mysteriousness. She's very austere. We've not seen her. Lucia Moniz in a lot of American films. So she's kind of this a mysterious ambiguousness about her that's really attractive. And I love the scene where he's deciding to write on a typewriter in the middle of France on a dock around a lake. Now, Jamie's obviously not very smart. He had no idea that his girlfriend was sleeping with his brother. And then when his brother's like there, he has no idea to even be worried or wonder like, what the heck are you doing here? He's just like, oh, you're here to pick up CDs. Cool. Like, not a smart guy, Jamie. So in the first,
he's wearing his brother's wearing like a bathrobe or something when he comes.
Right. And it's like, okay, what are you doing here? Okay. Big gust of wind, the papers go flying. And Aurelia like takes off most of her clothes, and jumps into the lake. I wouldn't have done that. I would have been like, looks like you're rewriting this stuff because this is horrible. And so they're both saying basically the exact same thing, but he's saying it in English and she's saying it in Portuguese, and you have no idea. And but he has to go home. He's gonna go home, and he's finished his book. And he says goodbye to her. And it's so sad because you don't know if they're ever going to really see each other again.
That's right. Yeah, they are going to see each other, though, again. Jamie wears the worst sweaters. That sweater looked like it was like, I don't know, like a burlap sack that he was wearing. What the heck is up with that, Jamie? That's terrible. Don't ride outside in the windy, blustery France. It's still like 2 weeks away from Christmas. It's still cold in France, by the way. Sit inside by the fire and write your book. What are you doing? It is Aurelia's fault though, because she takes like the coffee cup off of his papers and they fly into the lake. So yeah, get in there and get those papers back is what he says. But yeah, those papers are ruined for sure. Yeah, they don't speak the same language. You get like a little like montage then of Jamie going to like the like language center and listening to like, I don't know, like a book on tape, trying to learn how to speak Portuguese. So that's pretty nice. And then he goes home for the holidays, right? He gets like home for Christmas. It's a really great scene because he goes in and like all the little kids, there's like 100 people like in this little like tiny flat he gets into, and all the kids are like, hey, it's Uncle Jamie, yay, Uncle Jamie's here. And he's like, I gotta go, because he's going to go to Portugal to chase after this girl, and all the kids are like, we hate Uncle Jamie. It's so great. I like that quite a bit. And yeah, so what does Jamie do? He flies all the way to Portugal and is able to find his housekeeper in the middle of Portugal, which seems like a daunting task. Portugal is not the biggest country, but it's still a whole country that you could go and find Aurelia in. But he goes and finds her. There apparently is another sister who's also being body shamed in this for some reason. Her dad even calls her like Miss Dunkin' Donuts. That's terrible. That's no good. But he is there to profess his love and ask for the hand of marriage to this girl that he just met 2 weeks ago, has never said a word to, and just got broken up with or just got found out he was cheated on 2 weeks ago. Maybe this is a little bit of a rash decision, Jamie. I don't know. Aurelia seems pretty great, but maybe like date first, or like go out to dinner. Now she can speak English, you can speak Portuguese, kind of, sort of. Maybe take a week, spend Christmas, and revisit it in the new year. I don't know.
I don't know, maybe go on a date. At the beginning of this podcast, Brian, I said this was like an intelligent romantic comedy, and I'm rethinking that choice now with the way that you've talked about all of these. So thanks for that. But it is a really beautiful moment because he is walking through this town in Portugal, and it starts with, hey, they're trying to marry, he wants to marry my sister Aurelia. Then he's like, he wants to sell her and keep her as a slave.
It's like that game of telephone. Yeah, it goes to kill her. Like the whole town is following behind him as they go to this restaurant. And then the owner of the restaurant's like, he can't marry Aurelia because she's my best waitress.
Right. And it's like, oh, okay. But Jamie, asks her in this broken Portuguese to get married, and Aurelia she says, yes, okay, that would be nice. She learned English and he learned Portuguese in this really broken way, and it's really beautiful because she says, I did just in cases, and it's a really great moment. Jamie and Aurelia end up getting, I don't know if they're engaged, because we see them later and she's not wearing a ring, but they do have this really beautiful chemistry, because when they come back, he brings her back to the airport. She meets some of his other friends, and she's immediately like one of the gang. She's like, he didn't tell me that his friends were this good looking. Maybe I picked the wrong one. Maybe I picked the wrong Englishman. And he's like, she didn't speak a word of English. She doesn't know what she's saying. And it's really funny. But you're really rooting for these two at the end, even though they barely know each other, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Your heart is still really excited for them because Jamie and Aurelia deserve a good ending.
They do deserve a good ending. Let's go ahead and go to one that does have a good ending here, and that is Colin. This is our kind of inspiration for our cocktail this week, our Wisconsin dive bar cocktail, because we meet Colin like right at the beginning of the film. Like he's going in, he's like delivering sandwiches to this office. I think he even says to like Mia that she's his future wife or something, but none of these girls are giving him any respect any time of day. So what does he do? He sits down with his pal Tony and says, I just have to go to America. Girls in England don't appreciate me, but girls in America will. So he flies off to the exotic land of Wisconsin, goes to a bar, and he meets a couple of lovely young ladies who do seem to be interested in what Colin has to offer by terms of the way he says things like bottle and table.
Bottle and table, yes. So here's the deal. This is the part at which I fully disclose that I'm married to someone who's English, and that accent that will cover a lot of sins. Colin is really kind of a numpty head. He is not super smart. He's really not wise with women. He's a little weird. You want to talk about creepy? He was the one who was like handing out, he was like, taste my spicy nuts, as he's like handing out sandwiches. I mean, he is, yeah. not somebody that most women would date. But he goes to America. He says bottle and table and Frizzleton, I'm from Buzzleton. and all the girls are like, oh my God, you're just so cute. And then, of course, all of them live together. They all are so poor. They don't wear pajamas and they all sleep in the same bed. And it's like it's this Englishman's wet dream of what it could possibly look like in America. And he brings a couple girls home. He brings home, I don't know. He brings home, what's her name? Carla?
Well,
no.
yeah. So he ends up going, because we meet the three girls in the bar there, and then they talk about Harriet. Harriet, is the sexy one. We don't meet Harriet there, but when Colin makes his way back to talk to Tony, Harriet is in tow, and also the real friendly one, Carla. So Shannon Elizabeth and Denise Richards here are these girls, and there's three other girls that he meets in the bar. So I guess success for Colin if the intent was to fly 3,500 miles to the middle of Wisconsin in winter, which seems like a real bad idea. But looking for love, Colin found it. So hopefully he found himself a dirty Snowball in Wisconsin while he was there. I think he has a Budweiser, right? King of beers. I guess that's what you're going to do if you're going to England, or if you're going to the United States for the first time. Maybe have one of those. I don't know for sure. I really like kind of like his like banter, like back and forth with his friend Tony. And Tony's like, girls in America also have eyes. They can still see that you're like the ugliest dude ever. So I think that's pretty good. But they seem like they're a pretty jovial lads. So I guess good job, Colin. Hopefully you strike it off really good there with the sexy one, and Tony can hit it off there with the friendly one, and that leaves us with the best one here, Michaela. This is the big one. It's not really the best, and we're going to talk about why that is here, at least for part of it, Michaela. And that's because we meet these characters here. It's Daniel, played by Liam Neeson, and his stepson, Sam, who is played by Thomas Brody Sangster. But we're meeting them at the funeral of Daniel's wife. And it's very touching. He goes up there and he's talking about his wife, and then, she's saying goodbye in the only way that she did, because apparently this death was expected. She must have had some sort of terminal illness, and they'd kind of planned out how this was going to go. And they play the Bay City Rollers there. And you just see Liam Neeson just looking absolutely just like shell-shocked as this kind of slideshow of his passed away wife is playing behind him. So that's pretty awful. That's a pretty awful way to start your story, Daniel. But as it turns out, maybe there is some new love in the air, because stepson Sam seems a little bit despondent. Daniel even says so much when he's talking to his friend Karen there, kind of about it, not doing heroin. It just turns out he's in love. He's in love with Joanna, this girl from America.
That's right. Joanna is it's also an 11-year-old girl, and she's everybody loves her because she's heaven, Brian. That comes out of an 11-year-old boy's mouth. How beautiful is that? Boys, people of all.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. You know what though?
It's pretty good.
What though? I'm gonna make a little bit of a sticking point here. So Sam does love Joanna. He says there's this girl in my class. I've never talked to her, but I'm in love with her. I need to show her that I'm amazing, and the way I'm going to do that is I am going to become a musician. He sees Billy Mack singing his Christmas song and says, "Ooh, girls seem to like these musicians. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to learn how to play the drums." Another great thing then is Liam Neeson's kind of walking through the flats, and every time he walks by the door, you hear like the drumming progressively is getting better, but there's also like all these notes that he's has written on his door, right? So I don't want dinner, or Ringo is the best, and kind of all of this stuff, or Rhythm is my life, I think is one of them.
Yeah.
Which is really fun. But yeah, so he ends up playing the drums for Joanna's song, but Joanna still doesn't take note of poor little Sam until Sam rushes to the airport to tell her that he loves her.
Oh no, that's not true. That's not true. Because at the pageant, she sings that song that we all love so much. We have not yet covered it on Drink the Music. But All I Want for Christmas Is You. She does this really good song, and she points to him. She points to him first, and then she points to a bunch of other people. And we're led to believe as the audience that she was just pointing to, people, but she pointed to him first, and that meant something. So she had liked him. Yeah, you're shaking your head like you don't believe me, but it's the truth. Go rewatch that scene.
That's how you tell people that you like them. You don't actually tell them. You just point at them on stage.
Well, that's how I did it when I was young. Come on.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, Sam goes to the airport. I think it's Heathrow Airport, right? Daniel gets him there. It's really great. Because they kind of have this back and forth, and the relationship between like Daniel and Sam, a father and son, or stepfather and stepson here in this instance is really, really great. So he talks, and Sam is like, I've been pretty sad, but I have the worst thing ever is I've fallen in love, and there's nothing I can do about it. And you have all these great scenes. There's a beautiful shot of them sitting on a park bench that's looking over like the financial district of London. There you see like St. Paul's and stuff in the background. That looks pretty epic there, that shot. And then you get kind of the stuff they're watching, like Titanic together, right? The only thing that can cure a broken heart is Kate and Leo, and that's true. That's true. Go back and listen to our Titanic episode. We get into that a little bit, and then learns how to play the drums for Joanna and rushes through the Heathrow airport, which is the best use of the soundtrack I think in the whole film here, as he's kind of running through there. We get our best ever shop worker there. Rowan Atkinson is back to play a little bit of a distraction and get Sam in there. He kind of jumps over the security guard and gives chase. Heathrow Airport's a big place, so hopefully Sam had been working on his cardio to catch up with Joanna in time, but he gets there and says, "I love you," just before she gets on a plane to fly back to America. But luckily, she's going to be back in a month's time, after the Christmas vacation, I guess. And maybe young love, how else? What could be better? What could be better than young love, Michaela?
Oh, nothing's better. And for Daniel, it's really a really beautiful kind of turn of events, because Daniel and Sam, Sam calls Daniel until that final scene where it's at the end of the pageant, and he says, I don't think it worked. I don't think she knows. And Daniel says, well, Sam, we got to go tell her. You have to tell her, because your mother was perfect every day, and I should have told her every day. You got to tell her. And so then he says, okay, Dad, let's go get her. And it's like the most amazing kind of father-son moment. And then he immediately runs into Carol, who looks just like Claudia Schiffer, which is a big joke, because at the beginning of the film, at the funeral, Daniel says that his wife had said, hey, Claudia Schiffer, she should be your date to my funeral. And so it's kind of this sweet kind of I don't know if it's like a note of approval from above or what, but he's going to be able to move on, and there's definitely a mutual spark between Daniel and Carol, and maybe that'll turn into something for Daniel, because you want him to win and not be so brokenhearted. And I think that this story is my favorite of all of them, because it kind of ends really beautifully. You're filled with a lot of hope. And we needed one of those. We needed one of like the 8 relationships to be like not realistic, because, Claudia Schiffer's only one person, but semi-realistic of how this could work out,
That's right. I mean, they're not all bad. Like I said, we started with John and Judy. That is the best, most pure of the romances.
That's true.
Or at least the one without some sort of big like sad weight hanging around the neck of the romance, for sure. But that's kind of the relationships here as we've made our way through the movie. Now all of these couples are intertwined in some sense. They're friends or things. You can literally, if you go onto your favorite web browser right now and type in Love Actually relationships, there's all of like these flowcharts and like posters and stuff that tell you how all of these people like interact and how they all get along with one another. So I think that is pretty fun. You don't really need to know that to keep track of these relationships in the movie. The only one that I've always thought was a little bit confusing was that Karen goes over to Daniel's house, and they're not super specific. They're just friends, I guess, that they're hanging out there. You don't, because you'd think that maybe she's some sort of like sister or like like sister-in-law of his past wife, but no, they're just friends, I guess. There, so so that's the relationships. Michaela, are there any kind of scenes of the movie we didn't talk about when going through the relationship, or anything that looks really good, or the way that it's edited, or parts of the story that you really like and want to chat about before we?
So I do really like the way they film the airport. The airport has a couple of really iconic moments just in general. It's a big focal point of the beginning of the film. It's one of the best beginnings of a film ever. I mean, I think your wife totally nailed it. It's the best part of the movie is the opening sequence when they say, anytime I feel sad, I just go look at the arrivals gate at Heathrow Airport. It's so true. The way that they depict the airport and when Sam is running through it, it's really beautifully done. The musical score is amazing for this film. I don't know. Look, I don't know enough about music, even though I have a podcast about it, to really speak as to how intrinsically beautiful it is, or artistically sound or whatever, but it sounds amazing. That's the sweeping movements and the sounds of the strings and kind of the symphonics really lend itself to hopefulness and like a heart swell that you feel, and you feel that numerous times in the film. And I really love the score. I thought the soundtrack, which is not the score, those are two different things. But the soundtrack is also amazing. Every Christmas, I love listening to the soundtrack as well as the score, which is interesting because the soundtrack is not Christmassy. It's got some of our favorites on it, right? It's got Kelly Clarkson's "The Trouble with Love." It's got Eva Cassidy's "Songbird," which is amazing. It's got oh my gosh, it's got Norah Jones's "Turn Me On." It's so good. And then, of course, we've covered the Beach Boys from Pet Sounds. It's got "God Only Knows," which is the ending kind of epic song where you see all these pictures and video of people seeing each other after being away at Heathrow Airport. And that's really beautiful. Yeah, so those are the things. I think you've talked about every scene that was done. But those things are the reasons why this movie continues to stand out and that I watch it every Christmas.
Yeah, for sure. The music is pretty good. It's Craig Armstrong did the musical soundtrack score here. Also composed Moulin Rouge and Great Gatsby, Ray. So, pretty prolific composer there in terms of that. I do like kind of the end swell song. It's actually the same one that plays when Hugh Grant's giving his like presidential speech there, his prime minister's speech there next to Billy Bob Thornton's president's speech too. And it swells. It sounds a lot to me like some sort of like sports movie theme that kind of swells up through there. But it's really great as little Sam is running through the airport there and kind of captures that youthful like innocent love, right? So that's pretty nice. Yeah, and that's kind of Love Actually. We didn't really run through the story. Basically, it's just all of these people are kind of going through these relationships, and then it all kind of comes together at the end when they go to this kind of children's Christmas play. Really, that's pretty much the gist of it over the course of this 5 weeks. Billy ends up winning the Christmas special, which is good, and he has his own kind of relationship redemption there, as he's going to get together on Christmas Eve with his manager, Joe, played by Gregor Fisher. That one's really nice, and Bill Nighy's kind of this stereotypical, I guess, rocker guy, I guess, that wants to go out and party and have fun and things like that. And Joe's just kind of been there as kind of the backbone of Billy Mack throughout the years, and underappreciated. I think Billy Mack, even on the radio thing, says my manager, the ugliest man in the world, Joe, or something like that. But they end up coming back together when Billy Mack leaves Elton John's party to come back, because that's who he really wants to spend New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve with, which I think is pretty neat there. So that's another kind of a relationship love story that we're getting there in terms of these old friends and coworkers and colleagues and stuff like that. So I don't know, Michaela, that's Love Actually. We've had this on the docket to do for basically the 3 or so years of Christmas stories that we've been doing now up to this point. And you and I always go a little bit back and forth. Now, one thing is very clear here is that we both really like the movie, but I've always contested that this is not the real like rom-com that I think it gets labeled as. I think that this is there's a lot of sadness in here, but I really think that it's a really kind of good and interesting and well written and well crafted tale of all of these relationships, kind of good, bad, and indifferent, right? Not all of these are happy stories for sure, and even the happy ones have this sort of layer of sadness to them, at least in my eyes. And I think that it's interesting from that standpoint, right? Like, not all of all 20 of these people don't just go and fall heads over heels for someone in these 5 magical weeks up to Christmas, right? It's a much more realistic look at love, I think.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. I mean, I think over the course of the 20 years that this film has been out, and it's been out 20 years now, I found myself, I never found myself as Judy, which is kind of sad and good, probably. I don't know.
Just Michaela.
Just Judy. Just Michaela.
They got my name right. Just Judy.
Just Judy, though. I definitely found myself in certain aspects of these characters, right? And then there are characters you never want to find yourself be in for, right? Where, you're totally in love. Like I've been in, I felt like an office romance with someone like Carl, where you're like, oh my gosh, he's so beautiful, and I'm just totally in love with him. Oh my gosh. And then that sort of thing. As I've gotten older, my feelings about the film have changed, and how I saw myself and experiences. I mean, being younger, I was like, man, it totally isn't cool that Laura Linney's character chooses her brother. I was like, man, don't choose your brother, choose Carl. Carl's hot, and as I've gotten older, I'm like, man, Carl could have, if it was really real, then it would have been real. And Carl could have put his feelings aside because he cared about her, and he cared about her brother. Right. I mean, that's kind of hard, but why didn't he do that? And then, thinking about some of the choices that people make, and, there's a big point of contention about Karen and Harry and whether or not they stay together, right? Because at the end, it's not really clear. He comes back from a trip and she's there to pick him up with the kids because they're still married. She hasn't left him at that point, but you don't know. And everybody's got feelings, right? I think every woman I've ever talked to is like, oh no, she's definitely done. I don't think they're going to make it. I don't think she's going to forgive him. And then a lot of other people are like, that I've talked to, are like, no, she eventually gets over it and it turns out being okay. I don't know, man. I'm still kind of torn on that one. There apparently is a 15-minute sequel that came out to this in 2017, and maybe it addresses that. I haven't watched it because I think at that point Alan Rickman had passed, and I don't know if I could watch this story without him in it. So I have no idea if that's covered or not. But if it has, and you guys want to talk about it, let us know. Drop us a line.
Yeah, for sure. So, that is Love Actually from 2003. It's something that we watch pretty much every year, I think, in these 20 years since it's been coming out. And in a lot of ways, the story is obviously it's kind of this love story. It's meant to be kind of this romantic comedy, and certainly there are comedic bits throughout the whole film. It is a pretty funny movie, actually, but it's almost in a way kind of like a coming of age story, but it's being played out across all of these different couples, right? It's like a coming of love story for people, as you can kind of go through like all of these different aspects and phases of love and relationships and stuff like that. So it's a good one. Give it a watch, and it's perfect to kind of set the tone for Christmas, gets you in the holiday spirits, and leads you up in those fateful 5 weeks coming into the holidays. So let us know what you think about Love Actually out there, who your favorite couple is, or if we're completely wrong on some of these things, let us know that, and let us know if you make your way up to Wisconsin for a Dirty Snowball. And if you don't, if you make one at home, that's okay too. Send us pictures. We want to see all that stuff. And if you want to see pictures of ours and written recipes, you can do that on our website. It's www.drinkthemovies.com. If you want to send us any feedback or info or pictures of your cocktails, do that on our social medias. It's at Drink the Movies on Instagram and X and Threads and Blue Sky and Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. If you want to go and get some more bonus content, behind the scenes stuff, cocktail chats, all that good stuff, the best way to do that is on our patreon.com/Drink the Movies. We definitely appreciate all of our patrons over there who are letting us do fun stuff and have a good time, and hopefully vote on some more upcoming bonus episodes as we make our way through the holiday season. Michaela, we also appreciate anyone who takes the time out of their busy schedule to leave a review for the podcast, because that helps get the podcast out there. Where can people do that?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, anywhere where Spotify podcasts are distributed and supported. Whatever you're listening to on your rectangle right now, there's a subscribe button. If you're liking what you're hearing, please press that, because we would love to talk to you more about all things Drink the Movies, Drink the Music. And if you're liking what you're hearing, tell your friends, leave us a 5-star review. We're back to talking about movies as well as music here and there. So please do that. It really helps us get Drink the Movies stuff out there. We're so glad to be back talking about films, and we're just knocked out. This is the best job in the world, and thank you all for making it happen, because you as the listeners are the ones who really control whether we get to keep doing it. So thank you for that.
That's right. Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be back next week with the 1964 TV classic, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, one of my favorite holiday films of them all. Can't wait to talk about that and how creepy that stop motion looks. So we're going to be doing that next time. So thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next time on
Drink
the
The movies.
What we did, we replaced the word love with Christmas.
Right.
Bill Nye is the best part. He's the best part of the whole movie. He's so
And
good.
I love it when he looks at him and he's like, "You're the effing love of my life." Oh, you're the love
So
of my
good.
life.
So good.
So good.